Every morning, the office workers rushed past the same park. They wore shiny shoes, held fancy coffee cups, and looked at their phones more than the world around them. But in that busy park, there was one person who always stayed still, an old black man. He sat on the same wooden bench every day. Same clothes, same shoes, same peaceful face. Nobody knew his name. Some called him the bench guy. Others laughed and said, probably homeless. He wore a brown coat with faded buttons. His shoes were old and cracked at the sides. And he never spoke, just watched. Smiled sometimes, but never spoke. The mockery begins. One morning, a group of young interns walked past the bench. They had just started working at Arclight Tech, the biggest company in the city. They were dressed sharp, full of confidence, and eager to show off. One of them, Ryan, nudged his friend and said loudly, "Look at that old man. Same place, same time. He should be in a care home." The others laughed. A girl in the group, Jess, whispered, "Maybe he's waiting for food." Ryan chuckled. "Maybe he's just waiting for the world to notice him. Poor guy." The old man looked at them. He said nothing, just smiled softly and looked back at the trees. The gentle mystery. One day, a boy ran through the park and accidentally dropped his toy near the bench. The old man bent down slowly, picked it up, and handed it back. "Thank you, sir," the boy said politely. The old man nodded and smiled. The boy's mother noticed something shiny fall from the old man's coat pocket. It was a ring. A very old, heavy-looking ring with gold letters engraved on it. The woman didn't say anything, but she looked at the ring carefully as the man picked it up and slipped it back into his pocket. The letters were clear, DC. And beneath that, vision, truth, power. Strange words, strange initials. What did they mean? A whisper in the building. Later that same day, the woman, who worked as a receptionist at Arclight Tech, told a security guard, "I saw something odd today. The old man in the park, he has a ring with company initials. DC. The guard froze. DC. You mean like Daniel Carter? The woman nodded. Who's Daniel Carter? The guard leaned closer. He's supposed to be one of the original founders of this place, but he disappeared 30 years ago. They said he left the country. Some say he died. The woman blinked. What if he didn't? An old name, a new rumor. That night, Ryan and Jess joked again as they left work. They saw the man still sitting on the bench as the sun went down. Ryan tossed a coin at his feet and laughed. "Here you go, sir. Buy yourself something nice." The coin rolled, but the old man didn't react. He just looked at the sky. Jess stopped. Something about him felt different. She noticed how calm he looked. Not like someone begging. Not like someone lost. Like someone waiting. Waiting for something. Mia notices. The next day, a quiet intern named Mia walked past the bench alone. She had seen the others mocking the old man before, but never joined in. Today she stopped. "Good morning," she said. The man looked at her. He nodded, then slowly took out a small notebook from his coat pocket. He opened a page and wrote a number on it, 11,061,991. Then handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. But he didn't answer, just smiled. Then slowly closed his eyes and leaned back against the bench. Mia walked away confused. What was this number? A code? A date? A message? The suspense begins. That night, Mia searched online for the number. Nothing came up. But when she typed it again, this time with slashes -11/6/1991, a company article popped up. Daniel Carter resigns from Arclight Tech, reason unknown. Mia froze. Daniel Carter, the man who started Arclight Tech. The same initials on the ring. The same date the old man gave her. She looked at that article picture. An old photo of a young black man in a suit, with calm eyes. And the same smile. Just like the man on the bench. Mia could not sleep that night. The number 11 million 61,991 stayed in her mind like a puzzle she couldn't solve. And the photo she saw in the old company article, it was him. It had to be. The same calm smile, the same kind eyes. Was the old man on the bench really Daniel Carter, the man who helped start Arclight Tech? If yes, why was he sitting outside the company he helped build? Why did nobody know? Why was he forgotten? Searching for answers. The next day, Mia went to the office early. She didn't tell anyone what she saw, not even her friend Jess. She went straight to the company library, a quiet room that most people ignored. There were shelves full of old books, files, and company records. The lights flickered as she walked in. She found a file labeled Founders, 1990s. Her fingers shook as she opened it. There were pictures of the three original founders, Daniel Carter, James Nolan, and Robert Sykes. Three young men, full of hope. But something was odd. In all the company walls, posters, and speeches today, only James and Robert were mentioned. Daniel's name was gone. Erased. The interns gossip. At lunch, Maya sat with Jess, Ryan, and the others. Ryan was busy talking about weekend parties. Jess scrolled on her phone. Mia leaned forward and whispered, "What do you know about the company founders?" Ryan laughed. "That old history. Who cares? Two guys built this place. The legends, Nolan and Sykes." Mia pressed again. "Ever heard of Daniel Carter?" Jess paused. "Daniel Carter? Doesn't ring a bell." Mia nodded slowly. Then she asked, "Have you ever thought, maybe that old man on the bench is someone important?" They all laughed. Ryan said, "What, the coffee baker? Come on." But Jess didn't laugh. She looked outside the window toward the park, and she frowned. The secret meeting. That afternoon, the old man didn't sit on the bench. He walked slowly toward a small building next to the main office. It was an old, quiet library. Mia followed from a distance, her heart beating fast. She peeked through the glass door. The old man walked straight to the counter. Behind the desk stood an elderly librarian. She looked up, and her eyes lit up. She whispered, "Mr. Daniel, you came back." Mia's heart stopped. The old man nodded kindly. "It's time." The librarian reached under the counter and pulled out a dusty leather folder. Mia couldn't hear everything, but she caught a few words. "They erased your name, but I kept the truth." Jess starts to doubt. Later that day, Jess walked with Mia to the elevator. "You seem quiet today," Jess said. Mia looked at her. "I think we've been mocking someone who helped create this company." Jess frowned. "You really believe the man on the bench is him?" Mia didn't speak. She just handed her the photo she printed from the archives. Jess stared at it. Her eyes grew wide. "It's him." A clue in the office. The next morning, a janitor cleaned the CEO's hallway. He found something under the carpet, a small gold plaque, half covered by dust. He wiped it and read the name. Daniel Carter, Vision, Truth, Power. He told a senior staff member. The staff member's face went pale. "Where did you find this?" "In the old boardroom, under the carpet." The man quickly took the plaque and locked it away. But the janitor had already taken a photo. That photo would soon be shared, but not yet. Not until the right moment. Ryan's embarrassment. Ryan walked past the park again later that week. The old man was back on the bench. Ryan laughed. "Still sitting there, old man?" But this time, the old man looked up. And for a brief second, Ryan froze. He saw something in the man's eyes. Power, wisdom, and deep sadness. The kind of sadness that doesn't come from hunger. It comes from being forgotten. Mocked. Pushed aside. Ryan said nothing more. He turned and walked away quickly. The suspense builds. Maya started writing everything down. She kept a journal, the photo, the ring, the date, the librarian's words, the plaque. Piece by piece, the truth was coming together. Daniel Carter had returned, but not to take revenge. He came with silence, with patience, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for the world to finally ask, who is this man on the bench? And soon, they would find out. Mia could not stop thinking about Mr. Daniel Carter. Every night, she sat on her bed, reading her notes, and staring at the old photo of the three founders of Arclight Tech. Daniel Carter's name had been removed from everything. But why? Why would a man who helped build one of the biggest tech companies in the city just disappear? She felt the truth was close, but it was still hiding. The CEO's office, at the top floor of Arclight Tech, in a glass office full of awards and glowing screens, sat Mr. Sykes, the company's current CEO. He was rich, powerful, and feared. He always wore expensive suits and never smiled. One morning, his assistant came in with nervous eyes. "Sir, someone found an old plaque under the carpet in the boardroom." Sykes stood up slowly. "What plaque?" The assistant showed him a picture. Sykes stared at it for a long moment. Daniel Carter, vision, truth, power. His face turned cold. He whispered, "Bury it again." Mia finds a witness. Mia went back to the park that evening. Daniel Carter sat quietly on the bench as usual, hands resting on his knees, eyes watching the sunset. She sat beside him. He didn't speak. But this time, Mia did. "I know who you are." Daniel looked at her. No shock, no smile, just quiet eyes. "Do you?" he said softly. Mia nodded. "You were one of the founders." Daniel didn't answer. He just looked down. Mia asked, "Why did they erase your name?" Daniel looked into the sky. "Because I stood for something they didn't." The truth begins to unfold. Mia wanted to know more, but Daniel wasn't ready to speak. Instead, he handed her a folded piece of paper. On it was written, "Talk to Ms. Evelyn, West Library, second floor. Ask about the vote." The next day, Mia went to the West Library. She found an elderly woman sitting by a window, sorting old papers. "Ms. Evelyn?" Mia asked. The woman looked up. "Yes. I was told to ask you about the vote." Ms. Evelyn stopped. She put the papers down. Her voice dropped low. "That vote changed everything." The secret meeting. Evelyn told the story in a soft, shaking voice. 30 years ago, Arclight Tech had faced a big decision. They had developed a new software that could make millions. But there was a problem. It could also steal private data from users without them knowing. Daniel Carter said no. He wanted the company to remain honest. But the other two founders, James Nolan and Robert Sykes, wanted the money. They voted 2-1. Daniel lost. He refused to sign. So, they forced him out. Legally, they erased his name and told the world he had resigned. The power of silence. Back at the park, Daniel Carter sat quietly. He had watched his company grow without him. Watched them make billions using the same ideas he once helped create. He never returned to fight. He didn't sue. He didn't speak to the news. He waited. He believed one day someone would notice. Someone would care. And now Maya was that someone. Ryan starts asking questions. Meanwhile, Ryan had been watching Mia closely. He noticed her going to the library, sitting with the old man, taking notes. At first, he laughed about it, but then he grew curious. One evening, he followed her. He hid behind a tree and watched as Mia and Daniel sat together. He saw the old man hand her something small, looked like a USB drive. Ryan's eyes widened. What was that? The USB of truth. Later, Maya opened the USB on her laptop. Inside were old documents, voice recordings, and photos. One file stood out. A video. She clicked play. It was grainy, but clear enough. The three founders stood in a small office. Their voices were loud. Daniel was arguing. "We built this company to help people, not spy on them." Nolan shouted back. "You're too soft, Daniel." Sykes added coldly. "If you don't sign, you're out." Daniel looked into the camera. He said only one thing. "If this is the price of power, I want no part of it." Then he walked away. "The storm is coming." Mia stared at the screen. This was proof. Real proof. They had stolen his company, erased his name, mocked him. And now, he was sitting on a bench outside the very building he once helped build. But not for long. Soon, the truth would come out. And when it did, no one would laugh again. Mia sat in her small room, staring at the video again. Her hands were cold. Her heart was beating fast. She had just seen the truth, the full truth, about what happened to Daniel Carter. The man everyone ignored. The man some people laughed at. He wasn't just some old stranger sitting on a bench. He was the real founder of ArcLight Tech. He had been pushed out, erased, forgotten. And now Mia held the only proof left. The dilemma. Jess knocked on Mia's door that night. She looked serious. "I saw you leave work early," she said. "You okay?" Mia nodded slowly. Then she whispered, "I found something big." She showed Jess the video. Jess watched in silence. When it ended, she looked shocked. "Is this real?" Mia nodded. Jess sat down, stunned. "If this gets out, the whole company will explode." Mia whispered, "Should I release it?" Jess paused. "If you don't, they'll keep lying. Forever." Meanwhile, in the CEO's office, Mr. Sykes stood looking out the window. He had heard whispers that an intern was asking too many questions, that the name Daniel Carter had come up again. He turned to his assistant. "What's her name again?" "Amelia. But everyone calls her Maya." Sykes narrowed his eyes. "Keep an eye on her. Report everything." Ryan learns the truth. Ryan was scrolling on his phone when he saw something strange. A post from a small account showed a blurry photo of an old man sitting on a park bench. The caption read, "This man helped build ArcLight Tech. They erased him. But the truth is coming." Ryan clicked on the profile. Only 2 followers. One of them was Maya. Ryan's mouth dropped open. No way. He ran to her desk the next morning. "Mia, what is going on?" Mia looked calm. "You mocked him too, Ryan." "Yeah, but he's just a janitor or something, right?" Mia turned her screen. She played the video. When it ended, Ryan couldn't speak. He sank into his chair. They lied to everyone. The video goes public. That night, Maya made the hardest decision of her life. She uploaded the video to a private YouTube channel with no name, no face, only the truth. Then she sent it to 5 people: Jess, Ryan, Ms. Evelyn, and 2 journalists. Within 12 hours, the video had 200,000 views. By morning, it was trending. People were shocked. Comments exploded. "I can't believe this. How could they erase Daniel Carter? This is evil. Where is Mr. Carter now?" The panic at ArcLight. Inside ArcLight Tech, chaos had started. News vans parked outside. Reporters crowded the lobby. The company's public email was full of angry messages. Mr. Sykes slammed his hand on the desk. "Find her. Find the intern who did this." But it was too late. The truth was already out. The boardroom meeting, a special emergency meeting, was called. All top-level executives sat at a long glass table. Sykes stood at the front, red-faced. "It's just lies. Old videos don't prove anything." But then, the door opened. Everyone turned. In walked a man with gray hair, wearing a simple suit, walking with calm steps. It was Daniel Carter, and silence fell over the room. Daniel speaks. Daniel didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just looked around the room. Then he said, "I helped build this company with my heart and soul. I wanted it to do good, but some of you chose greed. You erased me, but the truth always finds a way." Everyone was silent. Some looked down in shame. Others just stared frozen. Sykes tried to speak, but his voice broke. Daniel looked at him. "Don't worry, I didn't come for revenge. I came to remind you. This company started with honesty." Mia watches from afar. Mia stood outside the building, watching through the glass. She saw Daniel standing tall, strong, not broken, not bitter, just honest. Tears filled her eyes. Jess stood beside her. "You did this," Jess whispered. Mia shook her head. "He did. I just listened." Daniel Carter stood quietly in the boardroom. His words still hung in the air. "I didn't come for revenge. I came to remind you. This company started with honesty." No one said a word. Even the loudest voices in the company, the proudest managers, sat silent like schoolchildren caught cheating. Mr. Sykes looked at Daniel with wide, nervous eyes. For the first time in many years, he looked afraid. The apology that never came. One of the board members, Ms. Reed, slowly stood up. She cleared her throat and spoke softly. "Mr. Carter, we are deeply sorry for everything that was done to you." But Daniel only gave a small smile. "Don't be sorry now. Be better." Sykes opened his mouth. "Daniel, maybe we can work something out. Maybe even offer you a position." Daniel raised his hand gently. "I didn't come back for a job." He turned to leave. The entire room remained silent as he walked out, each step filled with dignity, not anger. The media storm. Outside, news cameras flashed as Daniel stepped through the glass doors of ArcLight Tech. Reporters rushed toward him. "Mr. Carter, how do you feel? Do you plan to sue the company? Why didn't you speak up years ago?" Daniel simply said, "I chose silence before, but a brave young girl chose truth." That was enough. Next to the screen, news anchors began calling Daniel a forgotten genius, the real founder, and the man who built ArcLight. He was on every news channel. But Daniel didn't care about fame. He just wanted peace. The fallout begins. Back inside the company, chaos continued. Investors started pulling out. Share prices dropped. People on social media called for Sykes to resign. One viral tweet read, "They mocked their own founder. Now the company is crumbling." The board held an emergency vote. And in just 1 hour, Mr. Sykes was removed as CEO. He packed his things and left through the back door, hiding from the press. Mia gets a letter. Later that day, Maya returned home and found an envelope waiting outside her door. It had no name on it, just a wax seal with the old ArcLight logo. Inside was a letter. It read, "Dear Mia, the truth you shared was powerful, but your courage was greater. You reminded the world who I was. I may never return to ArcLight Tech, but I see a future where people like you lead with honesty. Thank you, Daniel Carter." Mia smiled. She folded the letter gently, like a treasure, her eyes filled with happy tears. Jess and Ryan reflect. At work the next day, things felt different. People spoke softly. Everyone was more serious. Jess walked over to Maya's desk. "You okay?" Mia nodded. "Just thinking." Ryan came by too. "Mia, I was wrong. I laughed at him. I judged him. I'm sorry." Mia smiled. "You learned. That's what matters." The new direction. The company needed a new leader. And guess who the board asked to help with that decision? Daniel Carter. Not as an employee, but as a founding advisor. He didn't want control. He only wanted to help choose someone who cared about people, not just profits. In the end, Ms. Reed became the new CEO. Her first speech was short. This company was founded by 3 men. One was forgotten, but not anymore. We now walk in the light of truth. Daniel's return to the park. Daniel didn't move into a mansion. He didn't buy a fancy car. He still sat on the same bench in the park every morning. But this time, he wasn't alone. People would come sit beside him, ask questions, thank him. And every once in a while, a student would run up and say, "You're the man from the video." Daniel would smile and nod, then return to silence. He liked the quiet. The lesson lives on. Mia kept working at ArcLight. She rose slowly but surely. Not because she chased power, but because people trusted her. She never stopped asking questions, never stopped listening. And every week, she visited the park bench. She and Daniel would sit together, watching the sun go down. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat. But one thing was clear. The truth, once shared, can change everything. It had been 2 weeks since Daniel Carter's story broke across the world. Arclight Tech was no longer the same company. The shiny walls were still there, the clean glass doors. But inside, something had changed. Something real. Something deep. People now spoke with care. Meetings started with kindness. The old fear in people's eyes was gone, replaced with hope. And at the center of it all was Maya. Mia's unexpected promotion. One morning, Maya was called into the new CEO's office, Ms. Reed. She felt nervous. She had only been an intern just weeks ago. Now people knew her name. Some called her the brave one. Some even said she saved the soul of Arclight. Ms. Reed smiled as Mia walked in. "Sit down, Maya." Mia sat quietly. "We're starting a new division," Ms. Reed continued. "It will focus on ethics, truth, and employee well-being. We want you to lead it." Mia was shocked. "Me? I'm not even. I'm still learning." Ms. Reed nodded. "Exactly. That's why you'll lead it well. You care." The visit that surprised Daniel. One morning, Daniel Carter was sitting on his usual bench, feeding birds, drinking tea from a paper cup. He heard footsteps behind him. When he turned, he saw 3 young children holding flowers. Behind them was a woman, their mother. "Are you Mr. Daniel Carter?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "My sons wanted to meet you. They watched your video in class." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "In class?" The woman smiled. "Yes. It's part of a lesson now, about truth, courage, and not judging people by how they look." Daniel chuckled. "Never thought I'd be part of a school book." The children gave him flowers and said softly, "Thank you." Daniel couldn't speak. His eyes filled with quiet tears. Ryan's second chance. Ryan, once arrogant and loud, had changed too. He apologized to everyone he'd mocked. He even asked Daniel if he could visit him sometime. Daniel agreed. One afternoon, they sat together. Ryan said, "When I first saw you, I thought you were just nobody." Daniel smiled. "And what do you think now?" Ryan looked down. "I think you're the best person I ever ignored." Daniel patted his shoulder. "Then maybe you've already grown." The memo from Daniel. One day, Ms. Reed received a small, handwritten note from Daniel. It had no return address. Inside were only a few lines. "Remember, a building is just walls and lights. A company is made of people. Take care of the people, and the company will shine." She framed it, hung it outside the boardroom. Now every leader had to read it before entering. Backlash and resistance. But not everyone liked the change. Some former executives went on TV, saying Daniel's story was exaggerated. Others tried to sue the company for emotional harm. Still, the truth stood strong. The public believed Daniel. Because the truth had been shown, not just told. Jess finds her purpose. Jess also grew after everything. She decided to quit her job in marketing. "I want to help people, not sell things." With Maya's help, she joined the new People First division. Together, they created programs for young interns and old employees alike. They called it the Carter Initiative, and it became a model for companies all across the country. One last gift. One evening, Daniel called Mia. "Can you meet me at the park tomorrow?" She agreed. When she arrived, he handed her a small notebook. "These are some notes I wrote in the early days of Arclight. Ideas I had, things I dreamed of." Mia flipped through the pages. They were filled with small ideas, some simple, some brilliant. "Why are you giving this to me?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "Because I trust you to carry them forward." The story goes on. Daniel didn't want to be in the spotlight anymore. He went back to his quiet life. But his story continued to grow. Books were written. Students studied his ideas. Companies used his principles. And at Arclight, a new wall was built, called the Wall of Founders. 3 faces were painted there, but only one had flowers placed under it every day. Daniel Carter, the man they once mocked, and now remembered forever. Years had passed, but the story of Daniel Carter never faded. Children in schools still studied his life. Young workers still whispered about the janitor who built a company. And inside Arclight Tech, one name was always spoken with respect. Daniel Carter. A quiet life, a loud impact. Daniel never returned to a big office. He stayed in his small home, woke up early, drank tea from the same chipped cup, went to the same bench in the park. People often stopped him for pictures, but he still preferred silence. Sometimes he just smiled and said, "Let the work speak." But one day, Daniel didn't come to the bench. Not on Monday, not on Tuesday, not even on Friday. Mia noticed first. She visited his home. The door was open, and on the table was a note, written in Daniel's soft handwriting. "If you're reading this, I've moved on. Don't cry. Just continue what we started. That is enough for me." Tears fell from Mia's eyes, but she smiled, because Daniel had left in peace. The ceremony. 1 week later, Arclight held a grand ceremony. They renamed their biggest hall, the Daniel Carter Innovation Center. People from all over the country came. Mia gave a speech. She stood on stage, holding Daniel's old notebook. He didn't want fame. He wanted fairness. He didn't want attention. He wanted truth. Let's carry that forward together. As she stepped down, everyone stood and clapped for 5 long minutes. Some had tears. Some held hands. But everyone felt the same thing. Gratitude. The bench in the park. The city placed a small statue near the bench where Daniel always sat. Not a big one. Just a simple metal figure of an old man holding a notebook. On the base it read, "He came with a mop. He left with respect." Every day, people came to sit beside it. Children asked, "Who was he?" Parents answered, "A man who showed us that greatness wears no uniform." Mia's new role. Mia kept rising, but never lost her way. She became Chief of People and Culture at Arclight. She led programs that helped interns, cleaners, assistants, everyone. She often repeated Daniel's words, "The company is made of people. Take care of them." And above her desk, she placed the original letter Daniel gave her. So every day, she would see it. And remember, a letter from a janitor. One day, years later, Maya received a letter. It was from a janitor at a new startup company. He wrote, "Miss Mia, I was treated like I was nothing. But then I read about Mr. Daniel Carter. Now I know I'm not nothing. I'm just at the start of something big. Thank you for keeping his story alive." Mia smiled. Daniel was gone. But his story had become a seed that kept growing. In hearts, in offices, in dreams. Final scene. The young girl and the statue. One morning, a young black girl stood near Daniel's statue. She stared for a long time, then turned to her mother and asked, "Mama, can I be like him one day?" Her mother knelt beside her. "Baby, you already are." The girl smiled, held her little notebook close to her chest, and walked away, ready to change the world.